So it's the middle of the night, and I just got my hair done. Let's talk about some trauma. I started listening to the Belgian artist known as Stromae late. Of course, I've heard Alors de Danse, uh, because TikTok. But I really fell into his music late. I'd listened to Yell, I'd listened to Maddie, I've even heard of Alphabeat and Daft Punk. But for some reason, I skipped Stromae. Not really sure. Now, that being said, when I did find Stromae's work, I fell in love immediately. The Belgian pop star, rapper, hip hop artist, everything is a visionary, and my love of that could be a whole other video. But I want to specifically talk about one song and one feeling that I don't feel like I get to cover a lot. And that's Papaoutai and being angry at my father. Longtime listeners will know that my father passed away when I was, wait for it, 11. See, I started doing this little trick, and I'm not quite sure when, that I always bump my age up to 12. I turned 12 later that year, but technically when my father passed away, I was 11 years old. And when I started reframing it that way, not that I think that, the few months makes it any easier to deal with, but I think it was important to me and to my healing process to realize that I really was a child when my father died. I absolutely was a child when my father died. And needless to say, I've spent the last 20 plus years of my life coping from that initial trauma. So, something kind of funny happens when you lose a parent, and that is they get frozen in time for you. And usually, the people all around you turn them into a bit of an effigy. That parent forever frozen in time is only remembered for all of their good and never their bad, and it thus removes all complexity from them and their narrative. My father, a good man, taken entirely too soon from his family, and thus remembered only as a two-dimensional straw man of just being a good dad. Not that dad wasn't good, dad was great, but dad was also human. And because of how he died and when he died, I don't really think that I got an opportunity to feel certain feelings about his death. And that brings us to Papa Tue, which is a song that Stromae did about a basically not having a dad, about having an absentee father, about having a bad father. And with lines like anyone can have babies, but only men can be a dad. I related to that song more than I was expecting. And it tapped into a feeling that I'm curious if other people have felt this, especially those that have lost their dads young, which is, I didn't realize that I was angry at my dad for not being around. Something happens when you lose a parent to illness, to chronic illness. And I lost my dad to chronic illness. I lost my dad to kidney failure. Something happens where the disease is like some kind of Victorian ghost that takes your parent away. And because then they're frozen in time forever, you don't really get to have normal feelings about that. It's just meant to be this poor, pitiable thing that happened, and the usual feelings of abandonment and anger and disappointment are usually not encouraged, and they get tampened down by a society that only feels pity and like the way that Hallmark greeting cards feel pity. No one's ever prepared to deal with someone like me who's lost both parents. at the age that I'm at, and thus I don't participate in normal holidays like Father's Day and Mother's Day. Like no, like society is just fundamentally not prepared for someone like me when it comes to that. And one thing that I realized that I was suppressing and listening to Papaoutai so many times reminded me is that yeah, I've been angry about my dad being gone for years. Not necessarily angry at my dad for dying, but angry that he wasn't there. Angry that no, he wasn't at my graduation. No, he will not be at my future wedding. No, I don't get to see him again. And just like Stromae did in the video, I felt like I was dancing with a mannequin. That I kept trying to find this propped up image of my dad somewhere, and I couldn't. And I was desperate for that. I was desperate for that mannequin to come back to life, and it never did. And I was looking, like in the music video, at other children dancing with their fathers, and I couldn't do that. And I think I always conflated those feelings as just sadness. But what I didn't know was how much of it was also bitter anger and resentment that left me also asking, Father, where are you? I miss my dad a lot. And I didn't wear all black just to make this video. But I didn't think that I was ever angry at my dad not being around. Because of that, I have to now learn an entirely new, different set of coping skills to deal with the fact that I am still asking the question, Father, where are you? I know this was a slightly different video, but I really think it was important to talk about, however brief. Um, I'd love to talk more about Stromae and Stromae's work. I'd love to talk more about him. Please forgive whatever mispronunciations I've gone through. I'm not a native French speaker. I only play one on television. But I felt it was important to talk about this, especially because I did just get my hair done and I look moderately decent to be on camera. So, thank you guys for listening. We'll see you in the next one.